Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. A huge day in the CDL yesterday. Toronto go down an 0-3 start for them. Scrappy is not a happy man at all, and Shotzzy doubling down on his opinion the other day that they've been slamming teams in scrims, leaking there's a certain top 8 team they put in the 25-point club the other day. Who could this potentially be, as they get a real challenge tonight in the respawns up against Los Angeles Thieves? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. Let's talk about this FaZe series then. Slasher was not having a good time after game 1. He went like 10 and 20 or something. They lost another hardpoint, but Mikado game 4 has always been a pretty good hardpoint for them, and they finally seem to know a little bit more how they should play the respawn modes. This is a big series though. I thought Toronto might just edge this one out, maybe in 5, maybe in 4, but you know, because Toronto really needed this W to be honest, and they did not get it. Game 2 was massive though. Went round 11. Of course, we know how good FaZe are in the respawns. They are, I think, certainly the best situational search and destroy team in the game. Put them in like a mid-round 3v3. They win those so often. They just know what to do. They know where to take space, where to go, what to do. And I think even though a lot of their strats and ideas obviously get hard countered a fair bit now because they went on that crazy streak, their situationals are still the best. And Thieves could certainly learn a thing or two, because genuinely, if Thieves could play search like FaZe, Thieves would be the best team in the game. Like, absolutely no doubt in my mind. But, you know, they can't right now. And OpTic maybe can a little bit more. I think it's going to be a cracking series tonight. But they turn up the series 1-1. FaZe went through to the control, and they won the control on Elgato. A great map for Toronto. But FaZe got the job done in 4 rounds, I believe. It was pretty impressive from them. And then they went to a Mikado hardpoint, where I thought, oh, well, here we go again. Another hardpoint for FaZe, where they might not do so well. But actually, it was the first rotation very strong, and towards the end, they clutched up. And Simp was the star of the show here. And it's been a while since we could even say that. Simp has been tethered to the hill. He's been the hill kitten for this team for this entire season, and even last year at times as well. I think they've finally figured out, FaZe, that the ARs need to get in the hardpoint, and it's not always Slasher. It's actually often Cellium now, who is sitting in the hill. And the thing is with Cellium, you can put him in the hill, and he'll still find a way to drop a 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. I think this map he had almost a 2 KD. Like, it's absurd what this guy does on a consistent basis. And if he's in the hill, then he can have no accusations that his kills are useless, which is maybe what they're going to go for here. So, I mean, Cellium had like 2 minutes and a 2 KD sitting in the hardpoint. Like, if that's happening, it's just ideal. Let Simp do what he wants, run around, just be a roaming slayer, and went like 31 and 25. Super impactful here from Simp. And we haven't seen a game like that from him in a long time, to be honest. And it's taken the ARs to get in the hardpoint. So, I mean, impressive stuff I thought from FaZe. Yes, they lost the game 1, but after that, to go on a 2-3-4 streak against Toronto, not an easy thing to do. And Scrappy, you know, he was obviously not happy this tweet was deleted shortly afterwards, but he wasn't happy about this defeat, and not happy at all about starting 0-3 this stage. And even as Simp says, haven't had that much fun playing a match in a while, which is, I think, goes to show that FaZe have discovered something in their respawn modes to take them to the next level they need to be at, especially in their hardpoint. If they want to get back to winning events again, I think their hardpoint needs to get to like 55-60% really, especially against some of the weaker teams in the league. And even as Parasite says, MC's got your hills, love that out of my hill kitten Cellium, right? So that's the thing. If Cellium's getting the hardpoint, and Cellium's never going to drop less than a 1.2, like that seems to be the solution there for FaZe, and you know, they get away with it. And even this from FaZe as well, 0-3 after winning a major, was Standy right about Toronto, because we know that Standy, Toronto, they got a fair bit of beef. And that matchup right now between Toronto and Vegas, the final game I believe that Vegas potentially and Toronto play of this cycle, is so crucial, because one of those teams is probably in losers if they lose. Maybe not, we'll see how it goes. It's not guaranteed that's the case, but if Toronto lose that series, they will be in losers. So that is quite the storyline to keep your eyes on. And it's a funny clip here actually, because these are the kids talking about Fortnite, right, for a few years ago. It's a classic meme, but they've got the kid with the hat on, the snapback, like he could be Slasher, right, with the A's hat. And then they've got, I mean, who is this? Is this aBeZy? Is this Simp? Or which way around do you think it goes? And people on Reddit were saying that Cellium was snaking behind the couch. That's why you can't see him. Good stuff, I thought. This also from Brian's stats on Cellium's numbers lately. Again, a 1.31 overall KD from the start of Major 3 to now. In the last 30 maps he's played, he's gone negative in 5 of them. So it's outrageous the consistency of this guy. And these were the overall numbers though. And I've got to say, Scrappy had a great series here. Insight 0.8, CleanX 0.9, Hicksy 0.7. This is the thing with Hicksy, right? Online, Ultra was so good when they had Standy, I think generally online, the Bell 5 or whatever, but Standy is more of a slayer. He's going to be good online. On LAN, there's a bit of a question mark there, and Hicksy is a player that, you know, he plays for the win. His playstyle is conducive to winning events, winning tournaments, going deep in them, and his record with Scrappy in tournaments is pretty absurd. But online, I do think that there is a potential issue here. If Hicksy's going to drop, I mean, he's going to average like, what, a 0.85 maybe, series KD, there's an argument to say that if CleanX isn't always going off, like, you know, that is going to hurt you. You are going to get outslayed a lot if Hicksy's going negative consistently. Like, obviously, it does have winning components there, but in the amount of online matches that are played, I don't think Ultra are going to be as consistent online as they potentially would have hoped to be, just because the slaying isn't always going to be there from the SMGs. And if CleanX doesn't have a monster series, he had great damage here, but Hicksy had a bit of a rough one, then, you know, you're going to get exposed a fair bit online. I think on LAN, this team will still be very good, but online, I do have some questions about the way the SMG kind of situation on this team is structured. So definitely some interesting questions to answer. I don't think they're necessarily one-hit wonders, and this is a series to FaZe you most certainly can lose. But yeah, the 0-4 Search and Destroy run, I mean, what, they 0-5 in Search and Destroy now at this stage, that's pretty rough for them, losing both of them to Surge, both of them to Boston, and it might well come to bite them when it turns up to actually figuring out their way to the winners bracket of the major. So maybe the dog just did disappear, but yeah, I think there's more to it than that. But it's a very interesting storyline that the major winners currently find themselves almost bottom of the standings for this particular stage. 0-3, 5-9 map counts. That's not a terrible map count. They've lost 3-2, 3-2, 3-1. So if they were to beat Florida, who they play next, and then Vegas, if they win both those games 3-1, they'll get to an even map count, and at 2-3 even map counts, that's enough to get to winners. If they win both those series 3-2, then it's not guaranteed. So they need to come out and body Florida and then just get past Vegas, I think, and that should be good enough for Toronto to get through to winners. But it's very interesting indeed, isn't it, right, that these guys, especially when they play Vegas on that final game, are definitely in the conversation. Like, Legion really need to beat Guerrillas tonight, and then Legion, I believe, play Florida after that. But that Legion-Toronto series, Standy versus this former team, is going to be an absolute banger. And what exactly is going wrong with Toronto right now? Definitely intrigued to your thoughts, because they just don't look like the same team they were at the major. And, you know, is that, you know, young team, is that a complacency thing? Is that them falling off a little bit? Is that and them getting a few bad habits? Is that other teams looking into what they do very deeply after they won the event? There's probably a few factors in play here, but they need to turn it around quickly if they want to even make winners bracket for Major 4, which is going to be quite the storyline in about a week or so's time. Kalestra as well, GG's to London, he says. They took a couple of hours, it looks like, to regain. There is a funny clip from the flank last night I wanted to share in a few minutes, Simon, from JoeDeceives, kind of calling out Clay. I thought it was pretty funny. I'll put it at the end of the video for you guys. Also, a quick word on iLLeY. There's been some talk overnight that iLLeY's been getting involved in Cellium's chat. I couldn't unfortunately find any screenshots of this, but apparently he was in Cellium's chat, who I believe is still streaming right now. Like, Cellium went on streaming late into the night, saying something like he's going to be back playing tomorrow, as in today, followed by saying, I'm back. So I don't know if this is just back to streaming, because we saw the other day he was suggesting that he's going to be back to streaming at Charles, whether that's back to trying to get into a team. I mentioned the other day for you guys that he had said that he's looking to, you know, make the return soon. I don't imagine that's going to be this year, probably more likely next year, but it'd be pretty interesting to see if iLLeY's streams were to start up again and exactly what that's going to look like. I did try actually to look at Cellium's stream, because you can see under community, I don't know, maybe you guys know more about this than me, because I've seen before where people can see what messages people have sent in the chat. So I went to his community, clicked on iLLeY, I went to chat messages, but it never, like, none of them ever appeared. So I don't know if what I'm doing wrong there, or maybe because I'm not a mod, I don't have access to do this. Maybe that's what it is anyway. So I tried, but I couldn't find any evidence of any statements. But you know, I imagine that this sounds relatively likely to me, given he was in this chat at the time, and it sounds pretty plausible to me. Also wanted to mention, though, the OpTic dominance from last night, certainly in the respawns. Shotzzy was given a statement like this in the post-game interview with Puckett to say, oh no, we've got to keep working, keep improving, and there's some things for them to do in the search and destroy. But their hardpoint right now is pretty much impeccable, and they're 10-4 now since picking up Ghosty, and their numbers, they now top the league in 100-point clubs against other teams. So OpTic now have 400-point clubs against other teams in the league. Surge have 3, New York, Toronto, Thieves, Boston, the only ones really on here. So OpTic to be topping this list is pretty impressive, and even more so given what Shotzzy is about to say here. So last night he went on the flag and said that the clip we saw the other day, where he said they've been slamming teams so hard that they wanted to scrim FaZe now to actually get a challenge, he reckons that was taken out of context. He reckons it was even worse for the other teams than he was letting on in that clip, saying, no, we weren't just slamming teams, teams, like putting them, 250 to 150. We're putting teams consistently in the 100 club in scrims, and there was one team that apparently are pretty good that, they put in the 25-point club. This is probably the Minnesota Rokkr, but you guys might disagree.
You know what it was? But listen, bro. Dude,
Oh, no.
a team had 25.
Nah,
25 is insane.
Now you gotta put him on blast because 25 is inexcusable.
No. I gotta do that. I won't do that. But 25 is insane.
25 is
How
inexcusable.
many
25.
Exposed? How many gifted?
100, but it has to be literally in a minute.
No way, bro.
25? And then, they left the game. But, they left the game before we reached, 210?
Damn, 25? Oh,
Who's a leaver?
25 is insane.
Lamar's team are leavers.
No.
We're levers?
Nah, you guys are loose fullers.
No, it was
Yeah, we're loose fullers, not levers.
25? Probably
he's a
LAG,
leaver.
maybe London. I don't know, Florida. I don't know, 25.
Hey, top
bro.
6 or bottom 6? And let me do some
What the?
investigative.
It's gotta be bottom 6, bro.
Nah.
Oh,
They're in the top eight.
wait,
They're in the
somewhere in the
top
middle.
They're in the top
Whoa,
eight,
they're in the
okay.
top 8?
Yeah.
What the hell? I have no idea who it could be.
Yeah, what the
I'm not saying.
So who do you think Shotzzy's referring to? I thought it was pretty entertaining, right? We know that Rokkr, I believe Bance said on, I think it was maybe the Merc and Maven podcast recently, that when they were trialing, I think even Shotzzy though said this was over the last few days, so it may not have been the Minnesota Rokkr, I don't know, but there was a period where Rokkr went 1 in 19 in hardpoints when they were trying to run it back with their former team, and it might have been in that period, or it might have been more recently than that against any other team. Who knows? I mean, okay, maybe those results happen, but still, if OpTic are putting you in the 30-point club in scrims, that ain't looking good. And these are Shotzy's numbers lately in the last 7 series. He is a 1.25 in hardpoint, positive in control. His search and destroy isn't quite as good as it maybe usually is, but it must be said that, the sound EQ cheese online does counter Shotzzy a fair bit, right? The guy likes to make plays, and if they can just hear him, it does make it a bit more complicated than on LAN, so I would say this is still impressive from Shotzzy. But tonight is going to be a key test for them, right? They play the Los Angeles Thieves, possibly the other best respawn team in the game right now. We know that OpTic and Thieves' search and destroy has its weaknesses compared to a team like FaZe, but their respawn is better than a team like FaZe right now, and Thieves have been so far out of control. Octane's been ridiculous in the respawn so far, and even look at these hardpoint records, right? So in stage 4, Thieves are 5-0 in hardpoint, averaging 250 to 127. OpTic are 3-0 in hardpoint, averaging 250 to 124. So, I mean, that's pretty crazy stuff. I guess a slightly larger sample size for Thieves, and you can look at the relative strength of opposition, but nonetheless, this is pretty impressive, right? So we're expecting some absolute bangers coming up tonight, and these are the 3 games. Legion versus Guerrillas. This is obviously, as yesterday's was, really a must-win for Legion. Yes, there's 10k on the line, but I'm sure they'll prefer the 10 CDL points. They need to win this one. If they lose this one, I think it's absolutely chalked for their champs prospects. They need to find a way to close out here. I think they will. I think they'll bounce back, but they're not going to make it easy for themselves. I can guarantee you that one. Toronto versus Florida as well. This, again, I mean, if Ultra lose this, it's chalked for them going into winners. So I'm expecting them to win this and then to play Legion next weekend in the really important series. But all of these matches are important for their own ways. Like Florida haven't looked terrible, but with Vickle they looked alright the other day. But I still think Toronto should finally find a way to win. They've played some difficult teams so far. They should be beating Florida 3-0, 3-1, and they really need to, as we saw a few minutes ago. And then Thieves OpTic, what a banger! This please be a game 5, right? It's got to be a game 5. It feels like in the respawns these teams should pretty much go toe-to-toe. In the search and destroy, though, I do think that OpTic are slightly favoured here. Thieves have shown some more weakness, I would say, in that mode than OpTic have lately. So I think OpTic in 5 is maybe OpTic in 5 or Thieves in 4. It is pretty difficult to say, but I wouldn't really bet on OpTic losing a map for hardpoint right now. So I feel like OpTic in 5 is the way to go. But I'm very much interested in your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
I got Vegas 3-1. They better not disappoint me, man.
Damn, bro. What, or else what, bro?
Yeah, no pressure.
Bro, listen,
Yeah.
like we said earlier in the show, bro, Vegas play up and down their opponents. Now is to start actually putting your foot down, cleaning up and winning series like this. You want to qualify for champs. If you lose to LAG, man, you're the one digging your own grave. Don't blame it on Minnesota playing 2 games in one day.
Oh, he said no cry baby cheese.
No
No
crybaby
crybaby
cheese.
cheese.
Come on, man.
Son,
That's
damn.
shots at Clayster. Let's not get it
No
twisted. Shots
crybaby
at
cheese.
Clayster.
Tag
Yeah.
grab, tag me.
Grab, spicy pepper, spicy
Come
pepper.
on, bro.
Yo,
And
then,
calls out Clayster on the flank.
Bro, you're trying to write that crab headlines for him. Come on, man.
and then we got Toronto Ultra going up against Florida. I got a 3-0 Toronto here. I think Toronto's gonna come out. They're 0-3 in the stage so far. I think this is a match tomorrow
Pepper, bro.
where they're gonna come out and take care of business.